Hello everyone, if I can get your attention to the center stage, we're about to have a fun conversation kick off. Yes, I am with Goel, but we're not talking about me today. We're going to talk about these awesome professionals and rock stars. So I'm going to first do a quick introduction, and then I'll hand it over to Blake, because you're going to moderate this, right? That's right, he's going to moderate the show. Alright, so first off, we have Aaron from Kaged. Kaged is leveraging digital to meet the audience where they're at, so you don't have to necessarily think of the expensive athletes aspect. They've been trying to be very lean there, so there's some awesome insights there on how you can connect with your market in that aspect, which I'm really excited to learn about. We've got Blake, who's making television relevant and not apathy. So we love that, leveraging omnichannel. So we'll have some insights there, because obviously, people are thinking like maybe you've got to go to YouTube, maybe you've got to go to TikTok, but he's thinking about how to leverage them all together to drive that value. So I'm really excited about that. And then Liz is with the crypto exchange, right? And they partnered with Williams here, and crypto's not dead, contrary to what you might believe and heard. So she's going to help clarify the value of crypto in the digital marketing aspect and how you can engage fans, which segues us to Divya. Divya is part of Williams Racing, leads fans engagement, and who here is a Formula One fan? Please raise your hand. So maybe you know of Williams because of her skill set. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Blake.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Thanks for Innovators for having us. I think we're having a really good panel here to talk about authenticity with Gen Z, which I think is super important because we'll get into it in a minute, but they're really looking at things through a different lens than other generations are. So I'm with AdAlliance. We're a European-based company. We reach about 160 million Europeans across 12 different countries. And I'll let the panelists kind of give a quick blurb of their companies now.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Aaron Heidebreicht from Kaged. Kaged is a sports nutrition company. We've been around for about 7 years. 6 of those years have been completely online. In the last 12 months, we've been scaling into retail, so excited to talk about how we're leveraging those digital funnels to kind of scale the brand out.
Great. I'm Liz. We're at Kraken. Kraken is one of the oldest and most trusted purchase exchanges. We've been around for 12 years, but until this year, we've done almost no marketing, like low single-digit millions of marketing. So we're launching our first consumer campaign, partnering with Williams, so a lot of exciting things happening on our side.
I'm pretty sure some of you saw me this morning, but my name is Divya again, for those of you who don't know. I run the fan engagement team over at Williams Racing. I am based out of New York, but our general operation is based out of in the middle of nowhere, Grove, Oxford, UK. Don't go to Grove. But what we like to do on our side is really pivot the way that F1 is thinking. Normally when you think of F1 and normally when you think of the money that's been inputted into F1, it's old money. It comes from an older fan base, generally a British or overseas fan base. So what we are finding though is that on the US side, they tend to be heavily younger, heavily Gen Z, which is also why the Kraken partnership makes so much sense for us. But we all run, my team runs all of the messaging and output of how we put these programs together, whether it's internally or with partners.
Awesome, thanks. So Gen Z, when does Gen Z start? Does anybody know like the actual official year of Gen Z year is?
90s, late 90s.
1997. So, I feel like over the years we hear all these different millennial, Gen Y, Gen Z, but it's always kind of curious, like when did they decide to draw the line and call it a new generation? So the panel today is all about authenticity with Gen Z, and why is that important? Why is authenticity important to the Gen Z audience?
I'll make this one. Yeah. So from our perspective, it's interesting. For those that don't know Kaged, by the way, we used to start as a brand called Kaged Muscle. We had some bodybuilding attachments there. It's kind of a long legacy, bodybuilding.com era way to homage to what was the industry probably 10 years ago, if you think about when the industry was kind of peaking up, the bodybuilding.com jeans and kind of shop. We stripped away the word muscle about 18 months ago. What that enabled us to do is go through this brand transition. We changed our packaging, we cleaned up the way that we speak to our consumers. And we actually changed our entire funnel system. So the folks that we were speaking to before, even though they were sticky and loyal consumers, they were starting to age out of the funnel in which we were actually servicing. And we saw that there was a need to actually start to index it to a lower age group. So historically, Kaged is really catered to kind of like the, we'll call it 28 to 35-year-old. Over the last 18 months, we've been really, really successful in really driving our funnels down to really 18 to 24, maybe 25 in that core range. About 35% of our business comes from that Gen Z audience today. 2 years ago, we probably had less than 5%. So the reason behind all that, why it's important, is how we actually talk to our consumers. We actually don't call them consumers, we call them individuals, because people want to be spoken to as an individual. And so all of our marketing, all the trainers, you see them fitness trainers, whether it's bodybuilding.com, Chris Gannon, or whatever, it was all geared towards consumer demand, getting you to purchase something, getting you to walk into our funnel, and eventually you find your way to our store. We now do content that is not, that doesn't actually drive to a purchase at all. We educate to educate, and we consider ourselves the adult in a space that's still adolescence in the sorts. But we're educators and we're adults in the sense of how we speak to these people as individuals. And the wild thing is, if you go back 10 years ago, in fact, I used to play sports at a high level. You didn't have all the distractions and all the information you have today. You used to be able to walk into a store, you could ask a few questions, and you kind of find this journey and path to what you may want to take. And now somebody walks into the store, they already know what they want. They know the brands that they've already done the research, so there's really not that much for the associate to do, there's not that much for the retailer to do, but ensure that they have the product on shelf. And so because of that, it's important that we speak to each person as an individual, give them the content, the education, the means to make that decision. And because there's so much information consistently pinging left and right, I got like 153 text messages today. And then you've got your Instagram and your emails. I don't have top tick or TikTok or whatever you call it, but we have a team that manages that for me because I've aged way out of that. But that's really what's enabled us to drive this new growth. And this growth has actually given us the ability to go from what, 2 years ago we were a pretty big online player, albeit many in this room probably hadn't heard of us, to now being one of the most expansive brands in retail over the last 12 months.
Super interesting. I think, Divya, what about you? What about Gen Z? Why is authenticity important to Gen Z?
Yeah, I think for us, what we found, especially the younger fan base, is actually it's almost coming around kind of like fashion does, right? Where now what 80s and 70s clothes people wore are still back in fashion. We have a very, similar to aging out of fans, we have a very old fan base. Williams is a very storied history. For those of you who don't know, we actually have the second most podiums on the grid, but we've had a very rough 10 to 15 years, I would say. And that has caused us to lose what I would consider the quintessential F1 fan. However, we have a small fan base, but they scream from the rooftops because they do connect with authenticity. We are the only brand on the grid, the only team on the grid that we're not focused on any other venture. We are purely racing and purely F1, and that is what we do. And if, for those of you who don't know the history as well, Frank Williams, our founder, built this thing by his bootstraps. He was taking meetings in phone booths, running across the street, trying to get investors and partners so that he could hit the minimum threshold to be able to field an F1 car, basically. So in that authenticity, we built a very good base of older fans. What we figured out is to continue to sustain that sport. We even have a Gen Z driver, Logan Sargent, on the grid, and he's the only US driver on the grid as well. So for us, it's a big piece of how are we authentic, how do we continue to tell that story. We've noticed Gen Z engages with more of that colorful content, as I would put it, and we have that in balance. So right now, it's how do we figure out what message and what cause and what impact that we can have on them to really put forth the authentic story we know we already have.
Yeah, I would say, speaking to why does Gen Z care about authenticity? This is a group of people who grew up with the internet, they grew up understanding that there is misinformation everywhere, they grew up with wealth disparity and, not being able to basically envision your future of debt forever, never being able to have the internet. That's kind of the mindset that many of them are in. And I think just sidebar, anytime you make a generalization about a generation, it's not true of everyone. So we do like to do a lot of research and try to understand what are the subsegments within Gen Z to understand the differences between them, because we'll talk a lot today about what Gen Z wants, but that's not everybody, so just note that. But I think also authenticity is very important because they are skeptical of the things that they read and see, and so it's really important to show both sides of the story. And for us in crypto, that's really important because there's a lot of amazing things about what crypto can enable. It is inherently an authentic and transparent technology that allows for inclusivity, for people to be able to access finances that never would be able to before. We're literally building the next generation of the financial system. And it's really exciting, but it's not fully baked, and there's some problems with it. And we, as a company, really want to acknowledge that and invite Gen Z in to participate in that building and be part of this next generation. And authenticity and transparency, again, very much part of crypto. Crypto is as a technology transparent. You can literally go online and see anything that's happening on the network. So I think talking about those things, talking about the inclusivity and transparency of the technology, and acknowledging the downfalls of this technology is really important to this group of people who are skeptical, and they should be.
Yeah, and that's one of the keywords that popped up when I was doing my homework for this. What would you say are some of the pitfalls or misconceptions? I was actually at AdWeek in New York earlier, and there was a panelist that was kind of railing on all the bad things about Gen Z, which I didn't think landed as well as she maybe hoped it would. So what are the things that you would say are things you want to absolutely try to avoid when it comes to talking to Gen Z?
I mean, I think talking about how to market to Gen Z is probably like Gen Z. But I think there's a lot of buzzwords like, oh, you've got to be on TikTok or you've got to do this or the other thing. Like, just showing up on TikTok is not going to help you connect with Gen Z. To understand what it is they care about on TikTok, like what are the trends that are happening right now, and not the trends that happened 2 months ago, because they should understand what they're interested in and speak their language and tell a really balanced story. Don't just talk about how your brand is so great. Get real people involved. Talk about the problems and how you're working that out. Nobody's going to trust just the rosy shill. So I think you have to just be really honest and pay attention.
Aaron, anything to add?
I was just going to say, from a storytelling perspective, I think it's really important to, in our space, our industry, it's so intimate, so personal. It's physical fitness as well as it's for health. For somebody, it could be looking better in the mirror. For the other, it could be overcoming obesity. For somebody else, it could be coming out of a hard sin. What do you do for the next step? So every case is very different, and how you meet consumers is very different. One thing that I talk a lot about internally through our storytelling and through our funnels is loyalty actually still matters to Gen Z, and there's a misconception that loyalty does not. We hear this a lot with Gen Z. Well, they're fickle, they're distracted, they've got all these things coming at them. ADHD everywhere, right? But they are actually incredibly loyal if you can meet them at the right need state at the right moment. And to your point, real people matter. So one of the questions that was asked me before I stepped on stage was well, who's the big face, big name of your brand? I was the people inside the building, essentially. We don't have a big name athlete. We've really never needed that. We've done partnerships with big athletes for trainer programs. We've done big influencers for different marketing campaigns. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the essence of everyone's in the building. So we're the sum of all our parts. So Kaged is a business of 60 folks, and everyone's so different. And there's so many cool stories there. And if you kind of peel back, my region is that's how I think about marketing in general, being really authentic, treating them as individuals, and creating funnels that actually serve loyalty to the Gen Z. Because they're far different than how we did about 10 years ago.
Because just one person might not be inclusive enough, right? You need to have a broader reaching presence. Do you want to add anything to the?
Yeah, what not to do with what my shirt is right now. Greg and Kraken is also on there. But I think in F1 we have gotten so tied down with the traditional logos. So there's not an empty space on a car generally nowadays. And I spoke to this a bit earlier as well, but what we've tried to do internally and then also with commercial partners has been to build a partnership around something that is actually loyalty or authentic something that is not just a logo slap, but rather a partner integration that can provide value to both parties. And the inevitable world of this is if we didn't have to sell commercial partners that weren't of value to us, I don't know if we would, but to sustain a business, we have to. Would we much rather have 1,000 Krakens that are willing to innovate and do cool things in the space? Yes. But is that going to fund a $1 billion Formula One team? Probably not. Unless you have $1 billion. So for us, it's something where we have started to move away from that a bit. Our car is still going to be logoed out. It's our biggest asset. It's our biggest property. But in terms of the experiences that we can offer to connect with fans that even aren't able to come to track, we all know that probably 80 to 90% of our fans never will attend a race. And so for us, it's can we build those partnerships that don't contain logo soup, but are rather make actual sense for the fans that we want to engage.
Nice. I know you mentioned it earlier on the discussion with Jay, but Liz, do you want to talk a little bit about the Kraken digital collectible that you're doing with Williams?
Yeah, so actually, a good segue from your comment. There's a couple ways that we are trying to make our logo slap a little less logo slappy. One was we were actually the first to put the Bitcoin white paper on an F1 car. We actually put that into the first race that we were a part of. In this race, you'll actually see the rear wing where you usually see a Kraken logo. It's actually a collection of NFTs. We ran a contest, so for the first time, owners of NFTs on our NFT platform could actually submit and vote for theirs to have a place in the car. So it'll look really different than what you're used to, colorful and fun. Those were picked by the Williams team, and 2 of them were actually picked by the drivers. So that was cool. And what we just launched, which you're talking about, Williams Collectible Plus, is the Grid Pass, which I feel like Divya, you should probably explain it better than I can.
Actually, if we can play the video, that would actually be the greatest explainer on the planet.
Yeah, that's probably better. The TLDR here is it's a free way to access fan engagement and connect with your fans. So you can get access to live digital events, discounts on merch.
Yep. So basically, we have the Williams racing account, and then the digital collectible lives on the Kraken platform as well. Gives them that and unlock Williams racing benefits. So for us, and on the side of that, we can play.
Elevate your Williams racing experience with our brand new Grid Pass digital collectible presented by Kraken. As our first installment within Williams Racing Collectibles Plus, this free Grid Pass collectible comes with an exclusive badge and helmet and unlocks unique perks and experiences, including exclusive Q&As with Williams drivers, executives and engineers, 15% off purchases in the Williams Racing store, early access to new merchandise releases, special perks at our fan zones, and loads more. Sound interesting? To claim your free Grid Pass and unlock all of those perks, head to williamsf1.com/grid-pass. There, make sure you've signed up and created a Williams account, claimed your Williams Racing driver card, and that you've created an account with Kraken. Then, simply link your 2 accounts on the Kraken interface and claim your free Grid Pass. Head back to williamsf1.com or the Williams Racing app and enjoy the many benefits of your new Grid Pass. The ignition key to power the engine of benefits and experiences that the Williams Racing Collectibles Plus program will provide.
Some of the words that stood out was exclusivity, get to be the first. Those are the kinds of things that I think get that audience excited because they want to be the first one to bring something new to their circle of friends, and I think that's a really good way to tie it together for both Williams and for Kraken.
Yeah. It was really important to both Kraken and Williams here. But as I understand it, for this also to be free, something that was very easily accessible to individuals where the barrier to entry is not you having to pull out a credit card or hand over anything of that nature. And we really wanted to make it kind of authentic and prove out the program. And then, as you can see, it's part of Williams Racing Collectibles Plus, so we get more in the works in terms of adding other digital drops for the program moving forward.
So I wouldn't be a panel moderator if I didn't use ChatGPT for something, right? So I wanted to give a few words that, what would ChatGPT tell me about Gen Z? And a lot of them actually resonate really well with each one of these brands that are on stage. Health conscious is one, or it's 2 words, but They're digital natives, so something about. And then they're also global citizens. So I feel like that actually really ties together with F1 because of the global aspect of it. What's a word or two that you think of when you think about Gen Z?
Young. I have 3 kids, so I'm 7 and 6, and Jen's like right up in between all that. So the first thing that comes to mind when I really think about this is what I'm marketing stuff is relatable. If I had one word to describe a Gen Z as relatable, like how do you want to associate, how do you want to get their interest as being relatable? Anything? I mean, I put them on the spot because I didn't know I was going to ask them this question specifically. We didn't see the ChatGPT stuff. We just
That was a cheat sheet.
Something around equality probably. I think they're looking for a level playing field and.
I'd probably say questioning. There's a lot of, I think to Liz's earlier point, you can't get away with Gen Z with putting something facade-like together. They are extremely intelligent, they will ask a lot of questions, and they will most importantly ask why or why not. And that, I think, is a big thing that we try and learn in Williams, is the why or why not.
The other thing is short attention span. So you gotta keep it across pretty quickly with them. They're formed and they're pragmatic. So I think those are all attributes that, I think depending on how you look at it, you gotta think about that when you do your marketing.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, one of the really common statements in crypto is do your own research. And so it fits really well with that sentiment of like they want to be informed and they should be informed. They should research and understand what they're getting into. And that's why we're launching this campaign that's really focused on education and helping people understand like this is what this technology does and this is how you can get involved, and we're demystifying some things that maybe seem a little bit complex. It's not really get involved, just dip your toe in and just learn about the industry, and not be afraid of some of the headlines that are frankly.
It's not scary, right?
It's confusing because it's a new technology. I think what we believe everything can be improved, right? That's the human condition to want to make things better. We have not made the financial system better. The financial system is terrible. I think something like 67% of people in the US either think it's bad or think it needs to be completely rethought. And I completely agree with that. And crypto is that rebuilding. It's just early, so there's some stuff that it's still confusing or doesn't quite work the way we want it to, but we're getting there. We're building towards better. And the thing is, inviting people in to be involved, whether that's working with a crypto company or buying just a little bit of Bitcoin, trying out a DAO, whatever it is, like get involved and participate because there's a lot of potential here, and it's really, really exciting.
That's well said. So the health category, I mean, that's been growing for decades at this point. We were talking beforehand, when I was back in the day when I was in sports, it was like protein powder and creatine. What's Kaged doing differently? How are people thinking about, what they put in their bodies differently compared to maybe just a few years ago?
We actually called it the water snake era sports nutrition. It was like the glory days, right? Take some creatine and hit 50 home runs, right?
That wasn't great things.
It was not good. It's the industry changed a ton, right? I started in this industry 20 years ago. Before that, I was a professional athlete who took those things and had to really think about what am I putting in my body. And if you think about it from kind of that MythBusters thing, you talk about it, today Gen Z's are going to question you, right? Just wait for the next generation. My 9-year-old questions everything. It's going to be wild. But we're in we're in a world where information is free flowing, but everything's in question. So what folks are looking for in health and wellness is not just a company that's going to give you great products. I say this a lot of marketing meetings. I said this to a lot of folks in this room right now. Great products alone will not win in our space. It's how you speak to the product, how you speak to the consumer, and how you drive education. Everyone has their own lane, right? You have brands that are crushing it on flavor. They have AdAlliance confectionery, an all-time high with all the licensing things that are just driving crazy with us, right? But those things fall out over time. Those are the short-term things. What we really focus on is this long pole of driving a new funnel to the Gen Z and probably that next generation will be starting to think through that as well. And what comes with that is a lifestyle shift in how we think about sports nutrition. We don't call ourselves a sports nutrition company anymore. 18 months ago, kids would have said they were about bodybuilding, they focused on CrossFit, and they're a sports nutrition company. We're a fit lifestyle company today. So when we think about fit lifestyle, we think about new funnels that actually drive your daily driving product line. And what is that? And what are the need states for each person? So we create new cohorts, new segments, and then we built the education platforms not only for our consumers that are already on our sites. Our consumers that are already on our sites have all this stuff for the most part. We have a really great funnel for that. But we've actually done custom educational content for our retail partners. So if you go to a GNC, if you go to an HEB, if you go to a credit shop, all of their systems actually have content where we speak to them, and we actually use third-party educators who come in, and it's science-based, it's all fact-based, it's all fact-checked. So like that Mythbuster theme, like, is what I'm looking at actually in the model. We check all those boxes, and we really try to make sure that consumers are informed. And so for us, it's again, every company is different how they market, how they think about wellness. But that's really our lane. Our lane is to be an educator at heart and a connector. And so if we continue to do that, we continue to grow scale. And then I think long term, as you look at the space, it's I think every 3 to 5 years, like you said, like fashion is changing pretty rapidly. Right now we're doing the energy drinks, right? Energy drinks are everywhere. Hydration is at the forefront. We're now realizing we're more dehydrated than we've ever been. Whether we believe that or not, that's what you're being shown, right? And so there are going to continue to be these new trends. And what is really important is that not only Kaged, but brands in our space continue to take that leap forward and drive like real fact rates because QA is going to continue at a rapid rate.
So going back to the Williams side of things, I think one of the things that stood out to me when I was getting the story behind Williams is the heritage and how it's one of the oldest race teams. Do you think that helps align with this message of authenticity of the younger generation, even though obviously many of them were alive back when things got started?
We had our heyday. It's and I do think it's coming back into but what I would say is, even though we are such an old and storied past, what we want to do, and I think actually Vegas is a really good opportunity for us to do that. Some of you might hear this statistic again, or this fact, but last time that there was an F1 race in Vegas, Williams won. It was 1981, and it was in the Caesars parking lot. So, but not many people know that, and this is something where that is the type of message that you say to a room, and you get a lot of smiles and head nods, and everyone's really excited, and that's super cool. That's the kind of story we want to continue to tell, to connect the old heritage we have to the new authentic brands. On a completely separate note, we do the same thing through licensing and merchandise as well. We've got some things that I cannot talk about right now, but that are in the works in terms of licensing out our heritage kind of to more Gen Z friendly clothing brands, if that makes sense. Because I'm not gonna lie, Umbro is not a Gen Z brand. That being said, we did launch a partnership with Puma next year for merch as well. So going within that, going towards that direction, but really honoring the heritage and honoring the legacy of Frank Williams, but using Gen Z brands and partnerships to be able to tell that story.
Yeah, and for Kraken is one of the first crypto platforms, right? So not as old as Williams, but one of the first in the space. What do you think about when you try to align with partners like Williams?
With Williams, it was there was so many obvious alignments for us. Legacy was a big one. Obviously, we're both very early brands in our respective spaces. Performance, we've for the 12 years of our existence focused on performance and security. Those have been the key tenets of how we've grown, and we've grown entirely word of mouth, no marketing at all. And so when we got the opportunity to work with Williams, it just felt like such an obvious fit because we care about the same things. And I think F1 obviously opens us up to a massive new audience of people to speak to and teach about.
I'm not sure how we're out of time, but does anybody have any questions from the audience that you want to tackle?
Yeah, the Kaged thing, think I wrote you a note on LinkedIn, just because I saw that you were going to be here, and it wasn't like, yo, let me sell you something. It was just like, hey, I actually just started using that cake stuff it switched over to it for pre-workout, and I guess I've never seen it, but I guess you've been around for a long time, so it's interesting that you just rebranded it, and it was like visible to me now, in a way, so that was kind of cool. When you were talking about the changing to a sports lifestyle and all that from I guess from a supplement company, I've seen it from like On It and that type of brand, right, where they've been able to expand product lines and that kind of thing. Like, what's the plan? Like, how does Kaged go from I have two of y'all's pre-workouts, like the pre-workout light and the insane mode. Hey, I really don't want to go to the gym, but it's like swallow this, and now you have no fucking choice. It's just like, the rage mode, whatever you call it. So I'm wondering, from that, right? Where does it go? Especially for younger people and stuff like that, where it is like a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, so my vision for Kaged, and we share this as a company, honestly, a great example. My background also worked with On It, worked with Nutribulk, Roger in front, so been in the game for a long time. Before all that, worked with largest retail industries and store operations. So, again, watching these brands do different things, it's been a while. My vision for Kaged is that we become a sideline-to-sideline brand, and what I mean by that is anyone that's on the playing field can take it, whether it's the athlete, whether it's the mom, whether it's the coach, or whether it's the kid, right? It doesn't really matter. And we're working on those solutions right now so that long term we will have those offerings for that family. And so to me, right now, our legacy is very much like niche in bodybuilding, niche in fitness. To your point with the Elite Series, you take it, it's going to light you on fire, you're going to work out. But we'll always have those offerings. We will continue to curate innovation and specialty, like a GNC, a vitamin shop, or even HEB, who carries a lot of those same things. But we want to be much bigger than that. And so as we think big, we become a brand that is big for the family. It's a sideline brand. So think one day where you can find your hydration in an RTD format, or you can find your pre-workout in a better for you RTD solution, and maybe it has weight loss benefits, or maybe it has cognitive benefits. That's actually where we see the brand going. But the permission to win and do any of that is the legacy that we created online. And then now that we created this unique funnel to the Gen Z, we got 35% of our sales funneling to that audience. It's going to catch what we do right now to fantastic as they age up.
So if you don't mind me following up real quick, but so when you talk about the family, I guess that's my question here in your industry, which is you're seeing such a huge biohacking community that's growing like insane, right? I mean, YouTube is full of people talking about, I'm going to take SARMs for 30 days, and I'm going to tell you how to win, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, right? And you're seeing a lot of people getting their medical, advice from YouTube, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but it's a lot of biohacking, personal, I'm going to figure this out for myself type of situation. When you talk about the family is going to change, right? I got a 1-year-old, I'm expecting that at 15, I'm going to need to check, what you bring home from school, what do you take it, what do you put it in your body, right? So I don't know if it's a positive or a negative yet for a company like y'all to get into those spaces responsibly, so that at the very least, you're putting that in your purchases as a family and you're managing it or in one way or another.
So we think of it, the way that we thought of it is it's our responsibility to get into that because we're already seeing kids get into it. So let's look at a brand like Prime Hydration. Sideline brand. Every kid's buying it. I coach baseball at the tracks. Every kid's buying it. Is it really the best hydration product for them? Does it really have all the things that a kid that's running around the field for an hour, 2 hours needs? Probably not. But damn it, Logan Paul can sell a product, right? So it's hell yeah, Logan Paul can kick his eye. I got it, right? What we want to do is take this educational platform and scale. So everything, looking at athletes, looking at faces of the brand, the partnerships that we really have in wartime are very, very different. So think Tim Ferriss, think Andrew Huberman, think thought leaders. That's actually the positioning that we've taken as a brand. Kind of jokingly, right? Now, Rogan's not an MD, but Rogan spits facts, and generally, most things are pretty cool. So those are the kind of the types of pilots that we're looking at. But we feel like it's our responsibility because we're already seeing children reach for the wrong thing, or what we believe to be not scientifically safe based on the research that is available to us today. So what we want to see is an industry where every product is informed sport certified. There's a lot of certifications in sports nutrition, none are greater than informed sport. It means every lot, every passion, everything is tested. It's very expensive and not many brands pay for it. There's not 4 right now. We're one of those. And then transparency. So think about authenticity, transparency, being authentic. Everything we put in our product will tell you exactly what you're getting, including the sweeteners. And so we kind of take it all the way down to that level of like, you know exactly what you're putting in your body. And that's where we want to kind of take the on-the-go space and on that too.
Maybe think of a question for Liz, actually. The responsibilities, I mean, you see alcohol advertisements drink responsibly. In crypto, there's got to be a ton of education around how to are there guardrails in place that you think of for investing responsibly or not, maybe.
Absolutely, and there's lots of education around how to navigate the industry responsibly. We're probably one of the only exchanges that will tell you self-custody. You should not keep assets on your exchange. You should put them on hard wallet. It's incredibly important to understand what you're doing. And there's stages to that, right? If you're new, there's sort of early education, and then you graduate to the next sort of tools and the next services, and we'll help you get there. We have 24/7 customer support any day. You could call Christmas at 2 a.m. Like, somebody's gonna pick up the phone and talk to you and help you figure out what to do. And then I'm going to do it to sort of push our own angle. Our mission is to drive the adoption of crypto so everyone can be included. It's not about driving traffic, it's about driving adoption of crypto. So we will encourage it to be responsible.
Thank you.
Thank you.